All right, we'll go ahead and get started. It's 11 a.m. EST. So I will start. I want to thank everybody for joining our session today. I know we have been conducting Azure Talk for a while now, and there was a special request that I've received on LinkedIn, from multiple people where they wanted a career guidance and advice in terms of making a career in cloud. So we decided, instead of addressing those questions individually, why not have a session where we can talk about, how to build career in cloud. Mainly, you want to cloudify your career. So today, I'm joined by Lalit Rawat, who is an MCT and also Azure Master of the Month. So, he has volunteered to do this session along with me. As all of you know, my name is Neeraj Kumar. I'm an MCT, Microsoft certified trainer. I'm also an enterprise cloud architect. I have total 18 years of industry experience. And for last 7 to 8 years, I've been working on primarily on the cloud side. And for last 4 years, I'm working on Azure and other public cloud provider. So we have, before we get into the agenda, it's like community session. So which means we will have a couple of more people who will come and share their viewpoint about how to really go about making a career in cloud and also how to succeed in interviews. We'll also cover those things. With that, we also want to bring in attention to our, members. If you are not already registered, please do head over to our website called azurezy.com. There you can register, and you will receive a regular meeting invite in case you want to participate in our future sessions. So don't forget to subscribe to our mailing list. Please do so. We also have our Azure Talk Telegram group, which is a community Telegram group. We have more than 3,200 members. We are nearing around 3,300 members. You can join that group, and if you have any questions, you can post all your questions out there related to Azure, and we will be more than happy to answer those questions. And it's a community, so people help each other. It's not only I'm going to answer the question or Lalit. We have a lot of helpful members, so they share their knowledge freely without any foundations. So please do join that group. It's really one of the best group you will ever find on Azure. We also have Azure DevOps group, which is t.me/Azure DevOps Pro. So all these are Telegram group, by the way. So you will need a Telegram app, and you can search for these, or you can also access these Telegram from your computer. You can install desktop app, or you can also access it from the browser. So whichever way is comfortable with you, you can do so. We also have our O365 talks. In case you are interested about O365, also do join our O365 talk. So again, the URL is t.me/O365 talk. Azure DevOps Pro and Azure Talk. These are the three community group exclusively owned by Azure Talk members and community members, and we are very active. We are very serious about this community. We do take questions and answers. We answer those questions. We have our own YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/AzureTalk. All these sessions that we do, ultimately it gets published into the YouTube channel. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and put your comments out there. We also publish all the URLs onto our website. So if you head over to AzureEZ.com, you will see all our 50 sessions of the past that we have done. So you will find all those sessions out there. Now, with that, I will move on to our agenda. So what are we going to talk about? And, from here, I will hand it over to Lalit. But just to, in nutshell, just to give you any idea, what are we going to talk about is, when you want to say cloudify your career, how to get started with the cloud? What is really cloud? There's so much things to learn. So how do we really navigate through this complex maze of cloud technology? So we'll talk about that, how to get started with, most effective way. We'll talk about different cloud roles and responsibilities. What are different roles which are out there, which is available for, somebody who is willing to change their career track or their career direction and they want to get into the cloud. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about, does certification really matter? Does it really worth to do the certification? Is it worthwhile spending money, time, and effort? So we'll talk about that and we'll answer that question too. We'll talk about interview tips and tricks, how to really succeed at the interview. When you go and take the interviews, what to expect and how to answer those questions in a graceful and polite manner without coming across arrogant. We'll then finally we will have Q&A session. So this is our agenda, and before we move into for the slides, just for housekeeping purpose, and I apologize in advance, I have muted all the audience so that we maintain a highest quality of recording, because ultimately these sessions do get posted on our YouTube channel. So in case if you have any question, feel free to type in the chat. Plus, when we will have Q&A session, I'll unmute all the audience and then you can ask your questions. But don't be discouraged by the fact that you cannot speak. Please type it in the chat and we will be able to answer your questions. With that, I will hand it over to Lalit. And Lalit, you will have to unmute yourself from your end.
Thank you, Neeraj, for the introduction, and thank you so much for joining this, Cloudify your career. So basically, in this particular topics, what we are going to cover as myself, Neeraj, and couple of our, community member who's regularly getting the request from LinkedIn, Facebook, and couple of other communities saying that how to make a career in Azure. There are lot of requests which comes from a person who is a developer or a SQL database administrator or Azure database administrator who is working on the data centers or probably in any other technologies or in DevOps and probably the working the IS and couple of other stuffs. And this they basically don't able to understand where to start and what to start. As we all know that Azure is a very vast platform where if you say as a vast, it has all. It has your data center, it has your DevOps, it will have your SQL databases, space, IS services, and platform as a services, and couple of other services which is there. Even you have a big data platform, you have a container services, a lot many things. You can see it's a big bazaar which has it there. Each and every product just you have to go and choose and make your expertise on that.
Yeah.
Similarly, yeah.
So Lalit, you rightly said, we have so many technology to navigate around, and and it's natural for people to get confused, and that's why we are having this session. So now steering a conversation back to the roles, right? So when we go ahead and aspire for a job, we have to determine what are different roles which are available about cloud, right? So I will just list out those roles, and then probably Lalit can pick on those, and Ashish, I see Ashish also. So Ashish, probably I would also request you to unmute yourself, and so that you can share your valuable inputs too. So please feel free to add on. So we will quickly go through the different cloud roles or cloud related roles which are available in market. It's not an exhaustive list, it's just a guidelines. It's just the list of jobs usually we see in the market. So the first role that we have is cloud architect. So obviously cloud architect is a person, and we'll go, we have covered a couple of roles, in much deeper in next slide, but just in general, cloud architect is a person who helps design, build, and architect the cloud platform on which, your application is going to run. So even in cloud architect, you have, infrastructure architect or a cloud infrastructure architect, then you have application architect, cloud application architect, the one who is really responsible for your application design. Then next comes cloud software engineer, somebody who is working on cloud side developing application for cloud. So if you are into coding and you're building applications which will run in cloud or cloud native application, that role is cloud software engineer. Then we have cloud sales role. If you're working for any organization where you're trying to sell cloud, that could be Azure, that could be any other cloud, without taking other name, you will be in that role. So those are some sales and pre-sales role where you will work with your customer to really help them understand the benefit of moving into the cloud. So you should have, really good communication skills, and also you should have, inclination to it's a customer facing role, so you should have that ability where you're very comfortable talking to people and you're very people oriented and people friendly person. So that's a cloud sales role. Then we have cloud engineer role. Now there is difference between cloud software engineer and cloud engineer. So software engineer is where that person is responsible for developing and building the software, and then once the software is built, that person, the SME of that software, which is in cloud. Cloud engineer is one who handles the operation or engineering tasks of cloud. So once you have your infrastructure, your platform is built in cloud, cloud engineer is the one who is an SME around those infrastructure and the platform. Then we have cloud services developer, so you have the one who really develops the actual software which runs on the cloud. So cloud software engineer and developer will work together on that front. Then we have cloud consultant. Cloud consultant is someone who goes and provide consulting services. A lot of organization is looking to move into cloud, but they don't have idea how to get started. So these people are enablers who enable, clients to move into cloud, right? So that's the cloud consultant role. Then you have cloud network engineer role. So like somebody who's really good into networking, and then that person is going to be responsible for network operations of engineering. Then we have cloud security engineering, somebody who is, cloud security, who that will be responsible for, security of the cloud. And then you have cloud product manager. So these are some of the roles. Now, these are not really like, the all role. One question I see that DevOps, right? So DevOps role is which fits into the development and operations model. So you will have, cloud developer and cloud administrator. So yeah, I mean, as I said, this is not a comprehensive list, but you have cloud administrator also. So the DevOps role is where it comes from cloud administrator, and we'll cover that in the next slide, where cloud admin and the developer both work together to make sure that we have that confluence of development and operations. So as I said, these roles are like, not it's an exhaustive list, but we try to put the most common one. And then we also have picked a couple of roles where we are going in deeper into the requirement of those. So with that, and then finally you have cloud system admin. So we talked about that cloud system admin, where this person is responsible when you build your infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, your VM, virtual machines, Linux and Windows machines. Now those systems have to be, you need admin for that. So that's where, the cloud system admin role comes into the picture, and it's more on the line of the operations team. So they take care of day-to-day operations, and they work closely with the cloud engineer, to make sure that cloud system or the servers are up and running. All right, so this is where cloud roles and responsibility come into the picture. So we picked only 3 roles. As I said, there are multiple roles, and I see Rupshar asking about cloud advocate. Yes, that's also one of the role where you go and really evangelize. So that's also sometimes called cloud, evangelize. So you will have evangelizers who will help the customer to really take that decision. There are many roles. So as I said, We just try to pick the roles which are largely is very popular, but that's not exhaustive list by any means as opposed to, right? So let's take a role one by one. So the first role that we have is, and obviously I'm not going to go into deeper into every role. Okay, so we'll talk about Azure Architect. Now, Azure Architect is someone who has very good knowledge of high level. When I say high level, that person knows about different Azure components, like different platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, database, Azure SQL, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Storage, networking, blob storage, and all those features, that you talk about. Everything is that person knows about it high level. Now that person has also the responsibility of designing and implementation knowledge. So that person should have designing knowledge, should know how to use these components to build an infrastructure, build a platform on which application can be hosted. So certainly you need the designing skills out there, and also nowadays a lot of organizations you would see as an architect, they require hands-on architect. So that's why you will see designing and implementation both are required in most of the organization. But there are still a lot of organizations where architects are hands-off. That means you do the designing work, and the heavy lifting and implementation will be done by the Azure engineer. But I see, as there is a trend, because of cloud, things are moving faster. So an architect is expected to have not only have designing skills, but also the implementation of the design that he and she produced. So you should have both the knowledge, designing and implementation knowledge. Then, as an architect, it's good to have assessment tools. There are different assessment tools which can help you to assess the existing infrastructure so that you can, really create that blueprint, the migration blueprint. So you can have like, current state architecture, then you can have, future state architecture, then you can have transient state of architecture where, you will go through that phases. So that's assessment tool knowledge is really helpful. Now, as far as automation tool is concerned, if you have good knowledge on Ansible, PowerShell, or any automation tool, Python, that's a really plus point for being an architect, because now you can talk authentically to all your stakeholders. So that's something that I'm in that role. So, I'm an enterprise cloud architect, so I play that role day in, day out. And I've seen that shift from hands off to hands on. The industry is moving towards where a person is expected to have multiple skills, not only designing skills but also implementation. But I have not seen architect, who is designing and implementing, but also operating. So I have not seen that operations work yet. But I certainly see that designing and implementation both are expected out of an architect. Then we have Azure DevOps role. So now for Azure DevOps, I would request Ashish, if you could take this up.
Yeah, sure. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, as Neeraj has explained about Azure Architect, so I mean, somehow you have to be semi-architect and semi-administrator if you want to be fit into the Azure DevOps role, because in DevOps role, I mean, you supposed to understand I mean multiple components, which is the pointer one, that understanding of Azure component, which is also pointer of Azure Architect, and you will be seeing those component as a architect as well. I mean, that's the difference between Azure DevOps and Azure Administrator. So administrators see the components as a implementer mostly, but as a DevOps you have to see like a architect. The the second thing which is most, because in DevOps role you I mean what I mean you can go through the DevOps slides we have, I mean DevOps sessions we have, what actually DevOps, but in nutshell it is about a culture. And in this culture you supposed to be, you supposed to be work with mostly either developer or work like a developer. I mean you supposed to be bringing out the developer culture into the administrator worlds, and that's where you have to, be familiar with the Visual Studio and tools for CI/CD pipelines and scripting languages like, DSC, I mean which is PowerShell DSC, or Chef or Puppet, and JSON template in terms of Azure, or Terraform, or Cloud Formation tool in terms of AWS, if you think about that. But I mean in nutshell, first you understand the cloud component. That is, if we are talking about Azure, then it is about Azure. You understand which component is used for what, architect, I mean from the architect point of view, and then you come across the common scripting or programming tools revolving around that cloud. So if we talk about Azure, then we have Visual Studio. Most of the developers who comes into the Microsoft world, and they work on Visual Studio, and PowerShell is the de facto, automation tool or automation language for all Windows world. So you have to know PowerShell, and along that, because all the all the enterprises are kind of adopting the open source tool sets, which are kind of which are, which are fit into the enterprise environment, as well as they are getting the benefits of the automation or DevOps. Then there you have to know VSTS, you have to know Jenkins, you have to know other things, Chef, Puppet, all these Ansible, all these things are coming from the open source world, and then getting adopted into the DevOps world. So I mean these are, I mean quite now this is too much. If I would say, if someone is coming from an administrator background, they will think about that DevOps has so many things. I mean you have to know the architect, you have to know the administrator, and then on top of that you have to go into the programming as well. But it's not. How you can start, because that's our primary objective of this session. So to start into this particular DevOps role, or if you want to target this particular role as your future aspiration, then I would say that since you have taken up the Azure, that's our primary assumption, because you are in the Azure session right now. So cloud component you have already taken. Go through the cloud component, and parallelly, if your projection is towards DevOps, then start getting familiar with one tool at a time. Like, start exploring Azure automation account. That is the entry point for automating anything in Azure. Once you are getting familiar with that, and definitely when you start exploring automation account, you have to have something, some knowledge about PowerShell, right? So you start learning PowerShell, and then slowly you learn tools as your progression towards cloud happen, and as your knowledge about automation or DevOps increases. So that's how I see DevOps. For the time being, for this slide, I think, I mean, this is enough, right?
Yep. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ashish, for giving us this brief. Just to give you an idea, Ashish has very extensive background in DevOps, and we have done 3 sessions in AzureTalk on DevOps. So please do check out those sessions if you need more details about that. So thank you, Ashish, once again. So next is Azure Administrator. So maybe Lalit, you can go ahead and talk about this role.
Sure, Neeraj. So basically, what is, as Neeraj and Ashish correctly said, what is an Azure administrator? And I'll tell you the correct current situation of Azure administrator, which can be can say an Azure implementer or Azure administrator or cloud engineer or cloud senior engineer, whatever the role, or you would be in either Azure DevOps or Azure architect role. everyone, in the market, they're looking an Azure administrator and all those three roles to, at least who can help us to implement those services. And hereby, Azure administrator role is more important. So first of all, the Azure administrator should be able to understand the Azure component of the services. As what is the VMs, and then we'll have a storage and couple of other networking services. And it's really it has some technical good troubleshooting skills, because as we know that we have in the market a couple of uh, good troubleshooters who's there in the on-premises technologies, VMs or any other technologies, but really hardly find a good troubleshooter in Azure platform. Until unless you don't have a Azure component understanding how they works, what they works, where to find their settings, how to get them correct, if something goes wrong, and how to recover those things. That is really, so whenever you're going for this role, you should always ask how to make my services up and running fine in 24 by 7 hours, and everything is recoverable in the cloud. And Azure, everything is recoverable. So just you have to find out the way. So you should, that technical skills, that on premises or whatever your skills or the DevOps skills, the troubleshooting skills is highly, highly recommended, because once Azure administrator role is once is the implementation part and then comes into the operations part. Once you're done with the implementation, again you have to support the operations, right? Where the troubleshootings and Azure deployment services skills comes in, and then you should be having at least a basic knowledge of PowerShell, where few of the services output you will get only from the PowerShell. So you should know if you are running some command, how those commands will work, what those commands, what are the output they will give, or until unless you will not run it, or probably you just start and run those command, might some services might be hampered if you're not aware of that stop command. If you just run that stop command, might your VM or the services will be stopped. But later on, once someone has find out and say, okay, this is a stop command ran by you, and then okay. So at least you should be able to understand what this command does, how this those commands will work, how we can deployment will be done through the PowerShell, how you can automate your day-to-day task, and the operations would be Azure administrator is has to be must, because once you deployments is a 5 6 or whatever the projects, once you've done it,
Yeah, I think
administrator is part in the operations part as well, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
Lalit, you
Neeraj.
rightly pointed out, right? So the life cycle start, if you look at the life cycle, so an architect will design a solution. That design, solution will be implemented. Now, that implementation is where, the Azure engineer and the architect itself will implement. And so as an Azure administrator, you should also have the deployment skills, because you will have to deploy that blueprint again and again. So design, implement, then after that you come the deployment, so you have to have multiple deployment of that. So as an Azure administrator, you should have that capability to understanding how to deploy. Once it is deployed, then you have to have operations skill. That means you should know how to troubleshoot day-to-day operations. If anything happens with VM, anything happens with Azure SQL, any configuration changes, anything, so networking troubleshooting, security troubleshooting, all you should have that. Plus, time management would require some kind of reports. As how many VMs are running. You cannot go and do through the portal, so you need PowerShell skills to generate those kind of reports. So these are typically, what is expected out of an Azure administrator. Now there is a question. Sorry to interrupt. Um, Lalit, there is one question about the salary train. So, see, I mean, I would not really categorize the roles as per the salary, but it also requires a certain amount of experience, right? So, for being Azure architect, you need really good amount of experience. So, the salary is determined by, the number of experience and the work you're expect. Azure administrator, a person, with 1 year, 2 year experience can become an Azure administrator. I know a lot of successful people, they are like, kids out of college, but they are so brilliant that, with 1 year experience, they are good Azure admin. They're really, I swear for their knowledge. So usually the salary is, the more experience is required, you will get more salary. Typically, for being an architect, you need most experience. Then DevOps is something which is slightly less experience, but there are a lot of technologies involved, and you have to master those technology. So industry do pay premium to bring on those knowledge, because it's really tough to find a person who knows Visual Studio, Web App, CI/CD, Web Jobs, .NET, DSC, and all those, VSTS Jenkins. So they do pay premium a little bit for Azure DevOps role, but that role does demand a lot of careful study and knowledge gain. So that's what it is. I think so. We can move on to the next slide. Do you have anything else to add, Lalit?
I'm good actually. We have fairly covered. So that's how the trend would be, to an administrator, to the Azure devs, and then Azure architect, as Ashish is also mentioned in the in the comments. Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to the next slide, right? So we'll talk about quickly about certification. So we have heard, so there are different certification. We will not cover different type of certification. We have sessions for that. If you really want, we can, you can refer those. We can post those links for you where you can go through, navigate through the different Azure certifications. But the question is, $1 million question is, does certification really matter? So the answer is not, there is not a full comprehensive answer. But yes, it certainly gives you an edge. So, when you're applying for an interview, just think about it. As a recruiter, recruiter is the first person who's screening it. They don't know who you are, how much you know about Azure, what your contribution in Azure Talk community. Nobody knows about it. The only thing they know is they look at your resume. So your resume is what gives them the feel that you're good or bad or okay and average. So that's where the certification opens the door for you. If you're certified, you are highly likely that you will get shortlisted for the advertised position. So it does give you an edge during shortlisting phase. So just that keep in mind, if you are certified, you have more chances of getting shortlisted for any open position, be it junior position, medium experience position, or really experienced position. So if you have certification, it will help you stand out from the crowd, and it will tell the recruiter that you take knowledge very seriously. So with that knowledge, the next point is uh, just not only certification will help you. So if you, let's say if you have certification, and remember certification is a way, think about it, getting a driver's license. So you have a driver's license with which you can drive, but that doesn't make you an expert driver. You will become expert driver over a period of time. The more you practice, the more expert driver you become. But that driving license gives you, or it tells the government that this person is not gonna mow down anybody or will not cause an accident or kill people. At least that's they much confidence. Similarly, when you're certified, people know that you know that subject, not really well as an expert, but you know that subject, and over a period of time, once you start working, you will become an SME. So keep that in mind. Just not only certification will help you build that strong knowledge, build that strong foundation on Azure. Be part of Azure Talk community, share your knowledge. The more you share, the more you grow. There are enough umpteen number of jobs in market on cloud. You don't have to be worried about your job security. There is a shortage of cloud professionals. So, be generous to share your knowledge, and trust me, that's what we do in Azure Talk. The more we share, the more we learn, and the more we learn, the more we earn, to be honest, right? Because you command your knowledge, and anybody and everybody, whenever you attend any kind of interview, any sessions, you will see those, because those topics, those questions you already know, because somebody else has already covered that in forum, Azure Talk forum, or any of the forum, MSDN forum or Microsoft Tech community, anything. Be active there, out there, share your knowledge, and try to share your knowledge within the company, among the team members, outside of the company, in the community. That way you will build your knowledge, right? So certification is going to give you an edge, but also make sure that you have built that strong foundation and knowledge on Azure. Uh, as I said, knowledge is the key to your next round of interview. So if you get shortlisted based on certification, but if you don't have knowledge, you will not go very far. So make sure you have enough knowledge and you build on that strong foundation that certification has provided to you, and build on top of that so that you can crack your interviews, right? Then finally, yes, it is a prospect booster. As I said, you will get more shortlisting, you'll get more calls, and it's true, especially if you're a fresher. Fresher, it's a very important must, right? So because nobody knows what's your skills, the only certification can tell that you have really good knowledge on that and you're really serious about it. As a fresher, what's your skill is like, your commitment towards the technology, and you can showcase that with, this certification. So, certification is especially very important and a very good career booster for fresher, junior, and also like to an extent mid-level professional. I have not listed senior level. Even if you're senior level, it is still gives an edge, because that tells the organization that this person is very serious about keeping him or herself up to date and updated with latest technology and trend. So certainly I would give thumbs up to certification. You should get certified, and at the same time work to build that strong knowledge and strong foundation knowledge of Azure. All right, then I think the next slide is which talks about interview tips and tricks. This is where this is where we get into, let's say you got shortlisted, now you are, in the interviewing process, how would you really tackle those, right? So the first thing you must, do is know your subject really well. So what I mean by that, I mean that, you don't need to know everything. Okay? You don't need to know everything. What you need to know is whatever subject you have chosen. So whatever different Azure services you have picked. So for example, you can pick, Azure VM, Azure Compute, Azure Networking, Azure Security. Just pick only these three, but know those services really, really well. So when you go and attend the interview, you can, if interviewer asks what's your strong area, you can tell, sir, madam, I know about Azure in general, but these three areas, Azure Compute, Networking, Storage, or IAM, or, database or platform, I know, or web app, I know these technologies really well. So that will give you an edge, because then interviewer thinks, okay, this person really knows how to focus on, certain technology, because cloud is a wild out there. A lot of services in Azure itself, you have more than 70 plus services. So, they don't expect you to know each and everything. So make sure that you shortlist the items, the topics, the services which are real closely related to your roles that you're targeting, and know those Azure services really well. Spend more time learning about compute, networking, storage, security, Azure SQL, Cosmos DB, anything and everything which is related to your roles, or DevOps or VSTS, whatever it is. But make that list of few select topics, few select services, and master that. Don't go about mastering everything. You will not be able to do it. And interviewers know this. They know this. Cloud is very vast, and we can't expect the person to know everything. All right. Then next point is understand and acknowledge your technical limitations. So when you are attending interview, and if you're thrown a question which you don't know, or technically you have not prepared, be ready to acknowledge it. Say that, sir, madam, I know you have asked this question, but to be honest, I know a little bit about it, but not really deep. So with that limited knowledge, I can attempt to answer that question. So, I beg your pardon if, I don't satisfy your expectation. So, okay. So just be ready to acknowledge your technical limitation. Nobody knows everything, including myself. I don't know. A lot of time I get corrected by a lot of junior people. So, be ready to acknowledge your technical limitations. If there is something that you don't know, you can politely say that, sir, madam, I don't know this, but I'll try to answer this question for you. Then Next one is nobody is perfect. As I said, nobody is perfect, so you are. We all are human beings. Nobody is perfect. Nobody knows everything, right? Neither you nor I know. Even I also a lot of time during my sessions, have been corrected, which I really appreciate. So you should be open and honest enough to accept the feedback, accept the fact that you're not perfect and don't try to be perfect. If you try to be perfect, you will fail because nobody can really achieve that perfection and there is no limit for being perfect. So what you need to do is you just keep striving hard to upgrade yourself and build onto your knowledge. So you should have target to know more than what you know yesterday. So you should have target to know more today than what you knew yesterday. That should be your target, not to become perfect. So just keep that in mind. There is no harm in acknowledging that I don't know certain topic in the interview, because that will be in fact a positive thing for you. The interviewer will say that this person really knows what's his or her technical limitations, and person is upfront and honest about it, so they will really appreciate it. If they don't appreciate it, they probably don't need you. That's a different thing, but most of the time they will appreciate your honesty and feedback. When you go to the interview, right, so you have to listen to questions carefully. Obviously, it has been spoken time and again. You don't have to answer the questions. Remember, you are not there to answer the question. Offer your perspective. There could be a scenario if you are, taking factual. If there's a factual based question, there could be multiple answers to one question. So like for example, if I have to restart the VM, how can I restart it? I can restart it in multiple ways. I can restart the VM from Azure portal. I can restart the VM from inside the operating system. I can restart from PowerShell. I can restart from Azure CLI. I can restart from by calling a webhook. There's so many ways. So what you need to do is you need to offer perspective. You say there are multiple ways to achieve it, but however, I would like to talk about a couple of options. So that way, the interviewer will get to know, oh, this person really knows about this subject, knows about cloud, and but at the same time, he's not gonna, or he and she is not gonna show off about his knowledge and pick only two options, which is mostly used. So usually you will use Azure portal to restart or PowerShell. So you talk about those two options, right? So offer your perspective, don't offer your answers, okay? The next one is be receptive to interviewers' feedback. So if interviewer is saying anything about it, just have open ear and open heart. Listen to them, right? So if they are giving any feedback, listen to it. If you think those feedback are genuine, take it. If you think those are not, still listen to it. Don't retort at that point of time. Don't try to answer back, no, it's right, it's wrong. Feedback is feedback, whether right or wrong. It's up to you to take it or discard it, but uh, don't let it be known to the interviewer. If you do so, it's an act of disrespect. Nobody likes to be disrespected. So be receptive to interviewers' feedback. Be if they give you any feedback, listen to it, and then it's up to you, because it's ultimately you are the one who will decide what feedback is right, what feedback is wrong, and you can have a discussion. You can go back and discuss with your colleagues and talk about it. But be receptive to their feedback. Listen, right? Be a good listener in the interview. Next point. Never argue with the interviewer, even if they are wrong, even that they are wrong. Multiple times it will happen, considering the fact the cloud industry is booming. You will have your interviewer who may not know as much as you know. It's very much possible. Very, very much possible. You will get this kind of situation, trust me. How would you handle that? If you argue with them, they say, no, you're right, you're wrong, I'm right. What you're doing, you're jeopardizing your own situation, your own position, right? So don't do that. Even if you know you are 100% right, never argue with the interviewer. Because remember, they are the decision maker. You cannot fight and win with them, right? So what you need to do is, considering the fact that you're right, assuming that the perspective that you offer is the best perspective, but maybe the interviewer has a different perspective which as per them is the best, because the scenario can change, and the scenario that interviewer is thinking is maybe in that scenario your answer doesn't fit. So never argue with the interviewer. Yes, you can ask clarification question, but never say that, sir, you're right, you're wrong. I mean, you can say you're right, but you don't say that you're wrong or this is absolutely rubbish. So don't argue with the interviewer. Okay. Next one is very important. Be confident, but not arrogant. Okay. So you have to come as confident person. There is difference between confidence and arrogance, right? So confidence is I know my subject really well and I also know my limitations really well. So I know that I can really answer your question on Compute, Azure networking, Azure security. But sir, you have asked me question about Azure SQL, which I know a little bit, but I'll try to answer. That is confidence. Arrogance is I know everything. I know compute, networking, SQL, everything I know. So, okay, yes, this is what I think and this is what is right. So never come across as that to the interview. Be confident but not arrogant. That's a very key thing. Then be polite but not docile. So there's difference between being polite and being docile, right? So the interviewer may check you to see if you hold your own thought process, if you hold your own opinion, right? So being polite means, sir, yes, I do understand your point of view. However, I think the perspective that I offer that also has a value to it. They also want to see if you can really, you know, politely disagree and put your point across. So you have to make sure that you're polite but not docile. Docile is okay, sir, yes, you're right, and all the time you're right. No, don't do that. But at the same time, there is a way to say your words. Be polite but not docile. So these are the some interview tips and tricks which I talked about. Then obviously the technical thing. I think I see a lot of questions coming up, and Lalit, maybe we'll get into the question and answer session. But before I move on to the question and answer, I will take a pause and I'll request Ashish or Lalit to add on to what I have said if you have come across within your personal experience, because you have taken so many interviews. I have taken so many interviews. So if you have any perspective to offer, please come forward.
Yeah, I would like to add certain things before interview because that slide I mean I think it was not there. So how to start? That is the question I come across from many beginners or people who want to join a company in Azure or any in a cloud role. So that is one of the question that I'm in a certain role, how to start. I'm in networking, I'm in storage, or I'm in whichever legacy technology you can talk about. So I will give my perspective from the point of view that as Neeraj explained, that in DevOps role you come across new things and you're supposed to know those new things, and you have to broaden your expertise in multiple domains. So that's my role is like I have to come across new things, and just like some of you might be new in Azure, I also come across. So I will give my perspective how I start any new thing, and that can be applicable to any domain irrespective. I mean, either it is cloud or anything, like you can pick any technology as well. So I would say that the first thing first is like, since you are if you are sure that you want to pick the Azure, that I mean cloud, and then in cloud you have multiple options like Azure, AWS, and since you are here, so probably you are kind of confident, or you are kind of already selected the cloud type, which is Azure. Now once you have selected that technology, that is Azure, then your primary primary target should be have a timeline of something around 2 weeks, like 10 days or 15 days or whatever. I mean, it should be a short timeline, like 15 days. You will spend your time to know what is Azure. I mean, no technical information, nothing. I mean, just what is it. I mean, you may refer our slides, like we have covered a lot of beginner sessions, like Neeraj and Lalit have covered so many beginner sessions, or you may go across like EDX is there, like Pluralsight is there, or maybe if you have a Udemy subscription or whatever. I mean, whichever place you find, you you think it is like is fitting into your culture of learning, go ahead and explore that and have a timeline. That is a very important thing, that have a timeline of 10 days. Once you are familiar with, like, you don't have to focus on technology, but you have to focus on what is Azure, why companies are adopting Azure, and so those kind of beginner session, I would say, like where they will give you the sessions, like, what is SaaS model, what is PaaS model, and all those things. We also have sessions on those things, and I mean, you can refer that, and then later on you can pick any basic MOCs or anything. I mean, you can pick. Once you know the basics, like, I mean, you don't know how to work on it, but still you have a basic understanding that, okay, what is Azure, why everyone is picking it up, how it stands in the industry in comparison to AWS or Google Cloud. I mean, in the basic thing, then you target the one of the thing which you think you are familiar with. So if you are coming from a developer background, you probably explore the 532 certification syllabus and maybe try to see how developers use Azure. Or if you are from an infrastructure perspective, then you might have to see the 533 examination certificate. Here we are not talking about clearing the certificate, we are talking about how to plan your study. So you pick the syllabus which is coming from the Microsoft itself. You pick the you if you are coming from an infrastructure, then you probably able to relate those topics which they have listed in 533, that how storage is used. Maybe you are already in the storage which is legacy one, but now you will know how Azure is providing all those legacy technology in terms of cloud. So that way you will be able to relate. Once you have the basic knowledge, now you are kind of getting started with the things which are more of aligned with the certificate. You don't want to prepare for certificate, but yes, you have to plan your learning, and then accordingly you pick your MOCs or you pick your courses from Udemy, from EDX, or from our session. That way, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Ashish, I think you have very valid point about Udemy and course. So certification and knowledge are two different processes. Obviously, these are related, but you will consult different material for certification and different for building that knowledge. So keep that distinction in mind. With that, I will open the floor for question and answers. So I went ahead and unmuted all the audience. So if you have any question, please unmute yourself. And you can go ahead and ask a question.
Hello.
Yep.
Myself Manas, and I'm a regular listener of AzureTalk. Actually,
thank you, Manas,
hello.
for being.
Can you hear me?
Thank you, Manas, for being AzureTalk member. We really appreciate it. Go ahead with the question.
Actually, I am attending some of Azure related interviews for 2-3, and there is some question. Actually, one question is the automation.
Okay.
Actually, what is the actual relation between Azure and automation? Actually, that is the actual question.
So I think yeah. So whenever you come across these kind of questions, I would encourage you post these questions over here in our forum, AzureTalk forum, t.me/AzureTalk.
Okay.
Please join our AzureTalk forum. Ask any technical questions. I'm sure we have so many AzureTalk community, helpful community members who will answer those questions for you. Either I, Lalit, Ashish, or many other members are there who can answer those questions for you. So
some hints like that. Can you actually? Can I tell that this is the one type of automation or something like that? What can I answer?
So I think I mean, right now we are not taking technical questions as such. If you have any technical questions, please post that on the forum. And I think Lalit has also given you a link where he has discussed some typical interview questions. So, but just to give you an answer, but I will not encourage everybody to ask technical questions right now. But if you have in general about roles, Azure automation is automation account is used to automate day-to-day regular work that you will perform in Azure using Azure portal. So instead of that, you will use Azure automation to automate those tasks.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions?
Hey guys, my name is Arvind.
Hey, Arvind, go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm working as a system administrator, and for the past 1 year, I have been moved to Azure platform. So I have a bit knowledge on Azure, but I don't have knowledge on PowerShell. So I would like to know how important is PowerShell, and will it impact if I don't know the PowerShell knowledge on my career?
Okay, so I will let Ashish answer this question. Ashish?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I mean, if you see the, I mean, if you I mean, I will say that in all the organization now, cloud is adoption is going towards self-service, and Azure or Microsoft kind of making PowerShell as a de facto automation tool. So if you say, is it necessary to learn PowerShell? Yes, in future it is. I mean, you have to know the automation perspective of Azure component as much as Microsoft provides you. Maybe it is not required for the time being because of adoption or because of organizational constraint you have or environment you have. But yes, Microsoft kind of aggressive about it, that I mean, they are kind of not only PowerShell, they are kind of making Azure a marketplace which can be consumed by other automation tools as well. So PowerShell is definitely a yes for any administrator. You can start from the beginner. It is not like a very programming a programmer way of learning it. I also have a PowerShell basics
Yeah, so
tutorial on
maybe
YouTube.
Ashish, yes, Ashish can share that link. Yeah, just to give answer to, summarize it so that we can take a couple of more questions. Yes, you do need it, but you can survive without it for maybe 1 year, but after that, you will have challenges. So it's better you start learning now, slowly and gradually, because industry is moving towards automation. A lot of operation work will get automated, and only people who are brain behind the automation or who know how to automate things will survive the industry. A lot of operations work will get automated. So yes, somebody said you must learn. Yep, you must learn that. So
Yes, guys. Thanks for the answer.
Girish has a question. What are the challenges in your current role, architect, DevOps, and administrators? Well, I mean, every role has different challenges. So, being an architect, I play that role of architect. The challenge is to fight the mindset of existing employees. So, when we design a solution which is going to be cloud native, we face a lot of resistance, from internal organizations, the team which is out there, because they think if we move to the cloud, first they have to learn new technology, second things will get automated, they will lose the job. So we have to fight the fear of losing their job. That's one of the biggest challenge I have faced. The second is, still on-prem mindset. Even if we build a solution in cloud, they still think from on-prem mindset. They will challenge you the same way they would challenge any on-prem technology, which is not true. In that case, you are building a legacy technology in cloud, lift and shift, whereas you will not be able to leverage cloud native technology. So these are some of the challenges that I face being an architect role. DevOps, probably, on the same line, people are not used to, they're used to doing things manually, whereas DevOps automate and the CI/CD pipeline, everything is automated. It's also a culture, so they're not yet, familiarizing themselves with the culture because it's change for them. It's a huge change, organizational change, so they resist it. Being an administrator, some of the challenges could be that you're operating the environment, and that environment there were unauthorized changes, there is no proper change tracking, people are making change on ad hoc basis, your environment is not consistent, you're unable to really keep a track of who made what change. So those could be some of the challenges that you can face. All right. Any other question? We still have 1 minute, so maybe we'll extend the session by 5 minutes if we have questions.
Hi Neeraj, my name is Ramesh.
Yeah, Ramesh.
Hi, I just wanted to say a big thanks to you people Neeraj and Lalit. Okay, because I have a lot of experience I have seen with Azure Talk. So I never had a chance to talk to you people, but I feel I'm very happy to see different kind of experience in Azure Talk. So thank you so much for your kind help. Okay, and
You're
regarding the
welcome, Ramesh.
question,
I'm really happy that you find our sessions useful, and your appreciation mean a lot. It encourages us to do even more. Yeah, please go ahead
it's
with your
really
question.
helping a lot, a lot. Okay. Thank you so much for that. And regarding my question, so as per this discussion, I understand PowerShell is must, and that we have to learn for automation. So just want to know what main things I need to have a concentrate in Azure. Like as you said, compute and the storage and networking. So if I have this knowledge in Azure, I can face the interview. So like that, do we have something compulsory things which we have to know? Do you have anything like that?
Well,
So as you
when
said, we cannot learn everything out of
right,
70 service we have. So if
right.
we have a knowledge in these kind of topics, I can face anything. Like it may be implementation or migration, anything. So what kind of
Yes.
topics I should be perfect?
Yeah, so I would say at least base foundation. Everybody should know the compute. What is compute? So Azure Compute. Everybody should know networking, at least, how we network. Even developer should also know because he has to interact, that person has to interact. So compute, I would say networking. IAM, identity access management, Azure AD, because any website that you develop, all are controlled by identity and access management. And then storage, as a developer, also as a admin, also you will store your VHDs out there. So I would say compute, networking, storage, and IAM. At least everybody should have an idea. Then you're a developer, then have very deep, detailed knowledge about web app, Azure SQL, Cosmos DB. If you're an DevOps guy, have good knowledge about VSTS, automation, Ansible, Chef, Puppet. But you must have these foundational knowledge, that is compute, networking, storage, and IAM. Four components minimum.
Right, Neeraj. I'll just add one more thing. Like whenever you learn or start for any technology, anything, then you just see any languages, either it could be in a PowerShell or the .NET code or JSON, anything. I see the Azure component. If it is the networking, it will be in a networking dot something. If it is the JSON, so it will be storage dot blob something would be there. So you just find it out where you have to put those terms and how those terms are coming. So you start slowly. Don't think of that. Okay, you will be a master in a one day. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's
That's it.
really impossible. Just, pick one thing. Okay, you wanted to understand PowerShell, start understanding what commands does. What are those commandlets are which I will be, utilize. Azure has a, separate power module, and then Azure AD has a separate power module, and then Office 365 has a separate power module. SQL is a
Yeah,
separate.
so
So
I
just,
think what Lalit is trying to say is don't expect that you'll know everything in one day, but start with one pillar. So I'll call this as a pillar. These are really services, Azure services, but let me refer to it as a pillar. So start with Azure Compute as a pillar, familiarize yourself, then storage, then IAM, then networking. Have that understanding. So I think these are the four pillars I would say. And if your time permits, security is certainly something that you should.
Sure, Neeraj. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. So we'll take two more questions. Then probably we'll call it a wrap. Anybody else has any questions? All right. Going clock 1, clock 2, clock 3. Okay. Questions?
yeah,
Yep.
just I'll put one point to hear our audience. Thank you so much for 31 participants is or more. So whenever you are going and attending any interview, go with the right attitude. Okay, right attitude in the sense. Never tell I see Azure is a new technology. If someone has promoted or moved from their organization to the Azure somewhere, they might know or don't know, but from when they are talking to the customers or their internally and all, they'll come to know about those subjects and their perceptions might be that which probably you might know better or probably you don't know better. So when you're going for an interview, understand their questions, what is trying to asking and what answer he is expecting. Let's say if someone is asked, I wanted to create a VM through PowerShell or through an automation account or probably, but you know only that from the portal. They'll say, I know from the portal, but I heard, okay, I see there's a, there is an automation tab where the JSON file is there. I just gone through, or probably you can add.
Yeah. So what?
And
Yeah. So
let's
what
go.
you can
So
what you can say that.
leverage that questions.
Yeah. Sorry to speak over you,
Yeah.
Lalit. What you can say that. Show them that you have the ability to learn, right? Not everybody knows everything. So show them, yes, I know this can be done in this way. However, there is another way which you are looking for answer. I know a little bit about it, but I don't know a whole lot about it, but I can learn and perform if I'm asked to do so. So show that positive attitude about learning. Understand, cloud is a new technology right now. Nobody is expecting you to know each and everything. What they're looking for, somebody who is willing to learn and scale up as demand grows. So show them.
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah, hello, Neeraj and Lalit. This is Sushant Yadav.
Hey, Sushant.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for all the great work you have been doing. And I've started learning Azure, but my question is related to the interview part. So since I have been receiving calls from the 4 or 5 organizations, but the job description says a different thing. I mean, each and every company has a different JD, and they expect a different thing from a candidate.
Right.
So shall I keep focused on my strong points, or shall I expand my limits to go to the extent what company is expecting from the JD?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So what my point of view would be, keep your strength area. Don't leave your strength area. The reason is today you are talking only about 5 companies. Tomorrow another 5 company, and they have different requirements. So will you keep changing your strength area? Don't do that.
yeah.
What I would say is stick to your strong area and go in the interview. Attend every interview with those strong area and go and be vocal about it. That I understand that you have this requirement. However, these are my strong area. And if interviewer is smart enough, they will pick those area to ask you questions. If they're not, then you attempt answering questions which is not from your strong area, and you can say that these are not my strong area, but still I'll offer you my perspective.
Okay.
At least you can come to know what questions are there in the market and what are the things you have to prepare from the next.
Yeah.
What I could say.
Yeah, because you will not be able to crack interview if you try to change your skill set as per the job description. It takes time to build that strength area.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think we are 8 minutes past 12. So I want to thank everybody for staying 8 minutes past our allotted time. So I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to everyone, and to Lalit and Ashish, for sparing your valuable time and giving your valuable inputs and guidance to our participants. So once again, thank you everyone for joining our session today, and keep a watch and do subscribe to our subscriber mailing list on AzureEZY.com. To receive a regular meeting invite for our bi-weekly sessions. So, we have upcoming sessions on different Azure topic, and we will keep posting. So the recording of this session will get posted on our YouTube channel. So in case, some of your colleagues couldn't join, please do ask them to check out our YouTube channel, or they can also head over to AzureEZ.com. That's where all the links to recording are posted. So thank you once again, and we'll look forward to talking to all of you again next week and the upcoming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend. Bye.